Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's been a long time since I posted a last video. It was a kind of unforeseen circumstances. I reported about this in my latest podcast. If you're interested what happened, feel free to check it out. I must admit, the last 2 months weren't really the relaxed and chill out months I've loved them to be. However, I'm back and I will try to come up with a new video every week. Today, we're going to take a look at ReaHotkey's Dubler 2. ReaHotkey being the company and Dubler 2 being the software that we're looking at today. Dubler 2 is a software that is used to translate audio into MIDI. Namely, your voice may be pitched notes or beatboxing or doing all kinds of similar sounds, which you can record and therefore train the model to. I am part of the ReaHotkey project, and within this project we enabled accessibility for Dubler 2 under Windows. Unfortunately, ReaHotkey is not available for anything else other than Windows, and ReaHotkey didn't manage to come up with a native accessibility feature on their own. However, this is a little walkthrough of Dubler 2 with the help of ReaHotkey. Let's get started with Dubler 2. So here we are right in the middle of the Dubler 2 home screen. On this screen you do have all the profiles, and I would just demonstrate to you what happens if you focus the Dubler window for the first time with NVDA.
Melody active button.
The melody active button, that is the first profile. It's called melody. It's active because it is active and it's a button. Now, here's the thing. Usually what Dubler 2 allows sighted people to do is create unlimited profiles. They will be arranged on screen and they will be endlessly scrolling. So if you've got like 200 profiles, you would have to scroll down on the screen to find the profile that you want to load. However, that isn't accessible. We cannot implement bulletproof scrolling in ReaHotkey. So what I did instead was an active profile mechanism. That means that you can set certain profiles to active, which is the first 5 profiles in the list, and then you can open them up and use them. So if you've got, for example, 10 profiles, only the first 5 profiles will be called active, which means they can immediately load them, and the other 5 will be inactive, which means that you will have to move them into an active slot first before you can actually load them up, which is done by pressing the Enter key on the profile button. Before actually getting into the melody profile and demonstrating you how Dubler works and what you can already do with it, thanks to ReaHotkey, let's just quickly navigate through this screen. Press Tab.
Create new profile button.
This will allow you to create a new profile.
Calibrate audio device. Audio and USB audio ACO driver button.
This is the Calibrate audio device button, which allows you to select either your own external audio interface with some microphone. I'm working with my SM7B. Dynamic microphones are recommended for Dubler. However, you can use other kinds of microphones too. Condensers, for example, can be a bit over dramatic, so it might be hard to actually hold a note with a condenser microphone. But Dubler does have mechanisms in place to actually help you with that. If you, however, own the Dubler USB microphone that comes with the software, which should give you the best possible result and effect, then you can configure it in here, or it will actually even be used automatically. Now, let's tab once more to the melody profile.
Melody active button.
And see what happens if we press Enter here.
Context menu.
We'll open a context menu.
Load profile L.
Okay.
Duplicate profile D.
You can duplicate it.
Rename profile R.
You can rename it.
Delete profile D.
You can delete it. We want to load it because I want to show you what Dubler can do and how it works. So we press Load.
Loading. Please wait. Revert changes button.
And here we are. If you load a profile, ReaHotkey will remember this profile until you actually unload it. So that means that you can change things in here all the time, as often as you want. If you don't feel comfortable with anything that you did, you can hit Revert Profile, and it would basically restore the profile to the state that it was in after hitting Load Profile. However, you can also
Unload profile button.
unload the profile, which basically returns you back to the home screen. Let's say we've got tabs.
Profile settings tab, control play tab, selected CTRL+1.
That is the play tab. And as you've already heard, you can switch through the tabs by pressing either Control tab and Control Shift tab, or you can just press Control 1 to Control 5. Now, let's see what's in the play tab.
Rename profile button.
You can rename the profile.
Inbuilt audio enabled checkbox not checked.
We can enable inbuilt audio. Right now it is disabled. By enabling that, you will get immediate sound from Dubler, even if you're not connected to a DAW right now, which can be useful if you're just playing around.
MIDI out enabled checkbox checked.
We can disable MIDI out, which will basically just generate sound in Dubler. So that's mostly enabled.
Revert changes button.
And this will revert the changes. Now, let's press Ctrl 2 and see what the next tab is.
Profile settings tab, control pitch tab, selected CTRL+2.
The pitch tab.
Pitch enabled checkbox not checked.
So right now I've got pitch disabled. Why did I do that? Because I'm talking to you right now. If I just enabled it, it would start playing stuff. And that's obviously not what we want right now. However, I would just quickly enable it and demonstrate it to you. So this is what Dubler does if you enable it. I've connected this to a ReaSynth instance, so don't worry about the sound that's coming out of it. That's just the plain defaults by ReaSynth. So that's what you're going to hear in just a second. Da, 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 da. We had some missing tones there, some tones that got lost in translation, some tones that were really off. We had one tone that was pitched much too low, but these are the usual kind of things that you encounter from time to time. There are solutions to this problem, and I will show them to you in most likely a different video. But here we go. That is what happens if you just enable pitch. It will send out MIDI depending on what you sing into the microphone. It will send it directly into your DAW, where you can pick it up as a MIDI input device and then can record it or just translate it into whatever kind of virtual instrument you are using. Now, let's see what we hear.
Pitch bend enabled checkbox not checked.
With pitch bend enabled, we will be sending pitch bend events to the MIDI out, which with the corresponding and probably well-supported instrument will turn out to actually pitch your notes as you're singing it, which is really, really neat and useful. So if you want to do that, here is the toggle to allow that.
Synth preset combo box trumpet LED.
The synth preset is the inbuilt audio that is playing in Dubler if you enabled it.
Input gain 50% button.
The input gain basically defines the input volume of the stuff that needs to go into Dubler to actually be recognized. It really depends, because the volume that you're actually singing or speaking or beatboxing or whatever into the microphone then is mapped to the output of the MIDI notes, to the velocity, to the CC events that are sent by Dubler. So making sure that this is actually properly configured can help with creating the right dynamic curves.
Octave shift +0 button.
If you are a female person and you can only sing really high, but you actually want to trigger low notes, just shift the octave to 1 or 2 negative octaves. The other way around, if you're a male, you can just sing really low. And you actually want to, I don't know, record a violin or something like that. Make sure to use octave shift and set it to a high octave so that you're actually triggering high notes, although you're singing low notes.
Key combo box C.
This is the key and scale setting.
Scale combo box major.
Right now, we can only sing C major. You might have noticed before. I tried to sing some notes that are not in the C major scale. It doesn't let me do that. However, you can change it to C chromatic, which will basically allow you to sing every note. However, the more notes you've got available, the more often you will slip, and Dubler will recognize the wrong notes. So if you know what you're singing, then setting this to the right key and scale will help to basically force you into a pattern and prevent you from recognizing wrong notes.
Toggle active notes button.
Toggle active notes allows you to exclude notes from a scale. So if you wanted to have a C major scale without, I don't know, the E, which doesn't make any sense, but you can basically disable them, and Dubler will not force you into the E and would basically consider it to be a forbidden note.
Announce detected notes. Press CTRL+ enter toggle. Checkbox not checked.
Announce detected notes is a really nice thing. So if you enable this, you will get more or less real-time feedback of which note is currently detected, and you can toggle this from anywhere on this tab by pressing Ctrl N. Now let's go to the third tab.
Profile settings tab, control chords tab, selected CTRL+3.
So these are the chords, they are disabled.
Root note baseline checkbox checked.
Here's the root note baseline. So by default, the root note baseline means that you're building a chord and then you will add the root note as a baseline below it. So for example, if you've got a C major chord, you're not just doing C, E, G, but you're doing C, C, E, G, basically C an octave below as the bass note. You can disable that so that you only get triad chords or whatever.
Follow octaves checkbox checked.
You can do follow octaves, so basically the chords will always be played in the octave that you're currently singing. If you don't do that, then the chords will stay on a certain octave that you can configure in here.
Octave shift +0 button.
There you go, that is the octave shift where you can configure where the chords should go if you are not following the notes.
Voicing preset combo box cluster.
The voicing preset will allow you to switch between cluster and spread. So if you've got cluster, then you're basically clustered really close. So triad chord, C, G, right? One octave, that's it. If you say spread though, it would be spread across multiple octaves.
Chord preset combo box triads.
The chord preset is triads in this case. We do have
Pop simple,
pop simple,
pop advanced,
pop advanced, and that's it. However, there are sometimes multiple options depending on the key and scale that you've currently configured. So if you've got a different key and scale combination configured, you might actually have different options in here too. And that's it for the chords. We can go back to the fourth tab.
Profile settings tab, control triggers tab, selected CTRL+4.
These are the triggers, and this is the most complex tab, and we won't do much about this today. However, here's how it looks like.
Triggers enabled checkbox checked.
It allows you to enable or disable the triggers.
Acoustic snare, 0 takes, trigger 1 of 5 button.
And now, in this case, we've got 5 triggers here. You can have up to 10, I think. And triggers are basically sounds that will trigger certain drums. So, for example, we've got acoustic snare here.
Bass drum 1, 0 takes, trigger 2 of 5 button.
A bass drum.
Closed hi-hat, 0 takes, trigger 3 of 5 button.
Closed hi-hat.
Hand clap, 0 takes, trigger 4 of 5 button.
Hand clap.
Right cymbal 1, 0 takes, trigger 5 of 5 button.
And right cymbal 1. And you can record takes for those. And therefore, these sounds that you are recording and the Dubler detects will allow you to play certain notes, which you can configure by pressing the button. However, that is part of a separate video that I will most likely make in the future because it's really complex and has a lot of stuff that goes around it to actually tweak it.
Add trigger button.
Here you can add triggers.
Sensitivity, 75% button.
You can control the sensitivity. And now the last tab, which is the 5.
Profile settings tab, control assign tab, selected CTRL+5.
Here is the assign tab, and although it's also called assign within the Dubler 2 software, it's actually a mixed bag of settings that basically affects everything else except this tab. So it's basically could also be called other settings or something like that. So here's what we have.
Pitch bend enabled checkbox not checked.
It allows us to enable or disable pitch bend again.
Stickiness, 89% button.
It does have the stickiness control again, which you can tweak from here too.
Pitch bend range, 12 semitones button.
We've got the pitch bend range. So that is something that you might know from your keyboard. If you've got a synth that only supports 6 semitones of pitch bend, then you can set it here and Dubler will adapt accordingly.
Pitch bend type combo box IntelliBend.
You can change the pitch bend type. So by default it's IntelliBend, but we also do have
True bend.
True bend is actually recording the pitch that you're currently in and basically recording that. So if you're really, really good in bending your voice, then true bend might be the way to go. However, IntelliBend is basically the intelligent version of bending. So if you're not the best singer, Dubler will try to figure out where you're trying to bend to and basically record that. I'd always recommend you to play around with it just a tiny bit to find out what works best for you.
Pitch MIDI channel, 1 button.
This is the pitch MIDI channel, so if you don't want to actually send out your sung notes on channel 1, you can change that here.
Chords bend enabled checkbox checked.
With that, you can even enable chords to bend, so it will basically apply pitch bend to the entire chord that you're singing.
Chords MIDI channel, 1 button.
Chords will also go out to MIDI channel 1, but you can change it here and set it to whichever MIDI channel.
Chords preset combo box chords.
You can change the built-in audio preset that chords are playing with. By default, it's a different kind of preset, so they can actually hear the difference between the detected note and the chord generated.
Triggers MIDI channel, 10 button.
You can send triggers out to a different MIDI channel. By default, it's 10, because 10 are usually drums in MIDI world.
AAA enabled checkbox not checked.
And these are the CC lanes. So you can enable A, E, and U, and you can use them to actually control certain parameters of your synth or virtual instruments. How that works is you enable it, and if you then sing you can record this, and depending on how much A, E, or U you sing, it will trigger a certain CC event and send it out to your DAW, which you can then capture and modulate whichever parameter you like. You've got certain controls here for all the different envelopes.
AAA input threshold minimum, 0.0 button.
You've got thresholds.
AAA input threshold maximum, 127.0 button.
Input minimum and maximum. So if you don't want the possible values to go from 0 to 127, you can change that here.
AAA output threshold minimum, 0.0 button.
Same goes for output.
AAA output threshold maximum, 127.0 button. AAA CC value, 20 button.
And this is the CC number that's going out if you are singing in A envelope. That is CC 20.
EE enabled checkbox not checked.
I've also disabled the E.
CC value, 21 button.
Which by default triggers CC 21.
OOO enabled checkbox not checked.
And I've disabled the OOO.
OOO output threshold, OOO CC value, 22 button.
Which goes out through 22.
ENV enabled checkbox checked.
And I've got the envelope, which I don't really know what it does. I mean, I know what it does. It basically simulates the mod wheel, but I don't know how to actually trigger it. I think it might be on the volume. So the velocity, basically, depending on how loud you sing, you will actually trigger the mod wheel up or down. However, this is worth playing around. I haven't used this in an active environment yet. It's there, and it's even accessible within the menu of Dubler, so that might be worth checking out. Or they're really helpful, informative videos that they put out on their YouTube channel and on their website, their blog. And that is basically the entire software. What does this allow us to do? It basically allows us to sing notes and capture them directly in Reaper. If you're a really, really good singer, or you've mastered the skill of actually singing with Dubler, then you can use this even for live performances because it's really, really fast and responsive and snappy. However, there are some things that you need to keep in mind. It works best if you're starting to sing on a transient. So if you're singing, this will most likely not really trigger Dubler, or it might cause some detection errors. However, if you sing da, it will most likely work much better because you've got a transient at the beginning of your sound, the noise, which will allow Dubler to pick it up much easier. So if you're singing da 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 da, that's much easier for Dubler to recognize than singing something without a transient at the very beginning. This is the rough overview of a Dubler, how it looks like and what it can do. I must say, though, that I've tested ReaHotkey together with Dubler in just 2 scenarios. So on my machine and on the machine of a friend who also owns Dubler. And with that being said, that does not mean that it has to work on your machine too, especially if you do have a different screen resolution or some other situations that I cannot experiment with on my own. I will, however, try to make it work on your machine if you decided to buy Dubler and actually want to get into it, but something doesn't work. ReaHotkey is an open source project, so as such, you are able to open issues and report back to us if something doesn't work or if something works really well. Obviously, if you've got wishes for other plugins to be included, other contact libraries that we should support, or even more Dubler features that you know exist, but we don't support yet, let us know on the issue tracker. You can always leave a comment below this video and I will get back to you as soon as I can. That is the interface of Dubler. Now you get an idea of what Dubler can do, and hopefully that will help you decide whether you think Dubler is a nice thing or not. Thanks for watching, and if you've got any questions or whatever, just let me know and I will try to help as soon as possible. Thanks, and until next week. Bye-bye.